Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 44. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. A happy Halloween to everybody out there. Dave, will it be trick or treat this weekend for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, that's a great question there. Don't look now, but here come the Ravens up, sneaking up. Not necessarily sneaking up, I guess, either here. Lamar Jackson back for the Ravens on Thursday night against the Dolphins. Comes out and throws, 4 touchdowns in that game. It must have been National Tight End Day Part 2 on top of it because they got their tight ends involved. Miami Dolphins kept trying to do several things that the Steelers tried to do, shooting themselves in the foot in several of those possessions there. I'd be interested to see if if it's a happy Halloween for Mike McDaniel on this Friday as well too. But
I think he's dressing up as fired head coach is what he's going for on Halloween.
That might very well be the case. Be interesting to see how that plays out. And look, I mean, this is another big game coming up for the Steelers this week, in a real measuring stick, and this team obviously coming off of 2 losses to Cincinnati and Green Bay, and not playing well on the defensive side of football. A lot of obvious and needed questions really have to be answered about this defense, and this is a Colts offense that'll give you a lot of opportunities to try to answer those questions as well too. This might, we talked last week about how good of an offense that the Steelers were facing in the Green Bay Packers, and obviously the Bengals with the wide receivers and all like that. I mean, pound for pound, position group by position group, this might be the best offense that they have faced this season in the Indianapolis Colts because of the quality of wide receivers, quality of tight end, quality of offensive line, and the quality of running back and quarterback that they have as well too. So I tend to be leaning more to this being a trick on the Steelers than it is a treat. But that's why they play the football games, right?
There you go. Pittsburgh trying to avoid a 3-game losing streak for the 8th straight season, which is a terrible stretch that Pittsburgh is trying to snap and would really do well to get the upset this weekend. And speaking of the Colts, have a great guest later in today's show. That's Joel A. Erickson, who covers the Colts for the Indy Star. Great, about 25-minute interview given the skinny on the Colts offense and defense. But Dave, you and I, let's start with the health of these teams, beginning with Pittsburgh. And there were 16 names on Thursday's injury report. Now, we don't have the Friday one out yet as of this recording. A lot going on here, so I'm just going to read off all the names here.
I'll go get a cup of coffee here while you keep the people busy here.
Not practicing for the team Thursday, Scotty Miller with a finger injury, Isaac Seumalo with his pec injury, a couple players with rest, and DK Metcalf and Cam Hayward, Daniel Quale, Deshaun Elliott with their knee injuries. They're going to go on IR, just hasn't happened yet. Cole Holcomb with an illness, and Darius Slay personal, as you spotted, Dave, on Slay's Instagram story. He was at his son's senior night, I think, down in Texas. So that's the reason he's not getting traded. He was just there for his son last night. So from a did not participate standpoint, from an injury standpoint, Miller, Seumalo, those are names certainly to watch. Limited on Thursday, Zach Frazier still dealing with the calf. Jabril Peppers popped up with a quad. And Dave, Corey Trice Jr., a new injury here with a knee. He was limited in practice, working in full. Will Howard, Malik Harrison, they both remain on IR. Ben Skoranek, Pat Frymuth, Kyle Duggar. You may wonder why is Duggar on the report with a knee injury. He had a knee injury that cost him the Week 8 game while he was still with New England, and that's why he's on there. But he practiced in full. He should be good to go for the weekend. So you're watching Seumalo, Scotty Miller, and then, Corey Trice Jr., he's still on IR, knee injury, limited. Did he get hurt midway through? That's kind of what limited would signal to me. Man, that really sucks for him. The injuries continue. Then we'll watch Peppers as well.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if Scotty Miller's going to play. Two did not practices and had that finger fix. It would probably make sense to leave him down one more week here. It will be. I think we're kind of speculating that this might be the week that Malik Harrison maybe gets activated to the 53, especially with a couple of these guys probably going to go to IR on Saturday, and Daniel Aquale and obviously Deshaun Elliott as well too. Peppers in that quad. You hope that he'll be able to go full today. Same with Zach Frazier and that calf. Not so much worried about him. Isaac Seumalo, what's going to happen there? If I had to bet right now, I'm going to think that he's going to be down this week along with Scotty Miller. So those might be two injured players that end up on the inactive list this week. How quickly is Darius Slay? Did Darius Slay have to catch the red eye or whatnot? And you kind of wonder. I mean, I know he sometimes has days off or rest days. Anyway, I guess it'd be just interesting to see if he's able to make it back by practice today.
He should.
And
I mean, I would expect him to.
yeah, I hope all the flights are on time or whatnot. Coming out of Houston there, Corey Trice Jr. Man, had the window open, and you're right. It's always something. It seems like with this kid, and not that I don't think there was probably a chance that he could be activated, I guess, off of IR, so close to his window opening. But it's just hard to imagine that's going to happen with a limited practice in there. But we'll see. I guess stranger things happen. You'd like to see this to get a good look at this kid for the rest of the season here with no injuries attached, right? And it's this hamstring and try to overcompensate for that, causing the knees. Obviously, had knee issues in the past. There, just not the type of thing that you want to hear or want to see or hear with the kid that you don't know a lot about and that's battled the injury issues even dating back to college there. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. Will Howard, not expecting him to get activated this week, and who else is there coming off of having their window?
Well, it's Harrison, Trice, and Howard are in the
Right.
window. Maybe Harrison, the decision day is Monday. That's whenever that 21 days end for him. So even if they don't activate him, a decision has to come by Monday. Otherwise, he stays on IR. Pittsburgh will have 3 roster spots available to them, even disregarding elevations. Whenever Elliott and Aquale get moved to IR, they already have an open roster spot right now. So Saturday will probably be busy. Where this thing goes in terms of who gets activated, who gets elevated, I'm not quite sure. I'm with you. I think Seumalo was out this week, probably Miller as well. There'll be a lot of moving and shaking before the Colts game.
All right, Kyle, did Duggar fill the 53rd spot on the roster?
I'm sorry. That's a good question. I think Duggar actually did fill the 53rd spot temporarily, so maybe 2 spots with Aquale and Elliott. My apologies.
All right, and we have seen this team only dress or go into games with 52-man rosters. So we don't know what way it's going to go on Saturday, but there will be moves. We just don't know if there's elevations or activations and all like that. So stay tuned to the site over the weekend. I think the only thing that we both feel confident in is more than I say that loosely. Scotty Miller and Isaac Seumalo feel like they're not going to play. And then we'll obviously, assuming Seumalo does not play, who is the jumbo reporting extra lineman? We had that discussion the other day. Be interesting to watch. And I guess the other interesting thing here with Kyle Duggar with Thursday being his first real practice with this team, how will they be able to get him active on Sunday, and how much will he play if he is active?
Well, Teryl Austin said the intent is to get him ready. What that looks like in a snap count and roll seems hard to decipher. I'm sure it'll be a limited package of plays, especially since he missed the first practice of the week. He got in on Thursday. Dave, could Jack Driscoll, the offensive lineman they signed, could he be elevated as that 6th offensive lineman? You think he did some tackle-eligible tight end type stuff in his previous stops in the NFL? So I know we talked about Pete, McCollum. I wonder if Driscoll could get that nod.
Yeah, I suppose you can't officially rule that out. But if Seumalo is inactive, that usually means you're going to dress one guy in his place and potentially not two. Now, obviously, you can leave Pete inactive and then use Driscoll and all like that. I just think might be too quick. My hope is what I am rooting for personally is for Pete to get the helmet and for Pete to be used more in that 6 offensive line role. That's what I'm hoping for.
Certainly possible. He can also play tackle, play guard on the left side, so there's some versatility as well. And then with Trice, I mean, I can't imagine he'll be activated this week. The concern is just did he suffer another serious knee injury that's going to essentially keep him on IR for the rest of the season. Now, if he did get seriously hurt in terms of the window being open, there's nothing to be done there. He just stays. That window closes after 21 days in a couple weeks, and that's where he rides out the season. Just, he spoke to the media on Wednesday, was still super optimistic, excited to get back, was fully healed, said he was good to go, goes one practice, and then gets hurt apparently midway through that second one. So you just feel for the kid. He is snake bitten.
All right. As far as the Colts injury report goes, and we talked to Joel during our interview and asked about this as well, too. It seems like all eyes will be on defensive tackle Grover Stewart on Friday. 2 did not practices so far this week with a foot injury. So I believe, even though they've got a lot of names on their list, a lot of those guys went full on Thursday. It feels like Grover Stewart's the name to watch there.
Yeah, he's that big interior plugger. Also has some good hands. He picked off Herbert a couple of weeks ago. I know their offensive lineman, Matt Gonclaves, did not, or I think he did practice the other day, right? His dad, I think, just passed away. He missed, I think, 1 day of practice, but I think he's going to be good to go for this game, although play it, I'm sure, with a heavy heart. But Stewart, the name to watch for that final report. All right, Dave, the coordinator speaking yesterday, Teryl Austin, Arthur Smith. Let's start with Teryl Austin, and he had some really notable comments. Obviously, a lot of attention to this defense, but also to the age-old question, Dave, of who calls this defense? Mike Tomlin, Teryl Austin, how does that division of labor work? Keith Butler, a couple of years ago, said it's all Mike Tomlin. Teryl Austin telling a different story to the media yesterday, saying that he is the primary play caller, but Mike Tomlin jumps in whenever he sees fit and wants to make a call. I think he was asked directly about that a little bit later on. He says, quote, Austin does, "It's been the same since I've been in this chair. I'm calling it. If Mike wants to call something, he calls it. That's how we roll. That's how it's been," end quote. And so it's not 100% clear how often Tomlin jumps in. I imagine he does so in some of those more weighty type of situations, but that's the clearest explanation we've gotten so far on who actually signals in the play in the Patrick Queen's headset.
Isn't that kind of what we kind of thought that we knew?
I don't know necessarily. I mean, I've made a couple references this year. You've seen the broadcast show Austin, holding up the call sheet and then talking into it, which would suggest he was doing some level of play calling. You've also heard Austin make a couple references to that was a bad call that I made and that kind of stuff. But I mean, the assumption has been that Tomlin has been the driver of this defense, which I think is still true. I think there is a little misconception that because Austin physically calls the plays, as in he is doing the entire game planning. I mean, game planning is a staff-wide thing. It's Tomlin, it's the other positional coaches, it's Austin. So the play calling is just the product of what you built your plan to be for that week. And although it could differ a little bit from who's actually is doing it, and whether that's Tomlin, Austin, somebody else, it's all a product of just what's your overall game plan as a unit, as a staff. You've decided this is who we want to be this particular week against this particular opponent.
Right, and a lot of that's predicated off of down, distance, time of game, field position, and all like that, where you probably roll through, you obviously don't, you try not to be very predictable in any one circumstances there, but you obviously, too, will have plans on, do we, is this offensive player one guy that we really want to try to take out of this game? So, there's some things that change week to week, but, I mean, to me, I've always kind of been under the assumption since Austin arrived that if Mike Tomlin's more more than willing to put his 2 cents in on any situational call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just go back to what Keith Butler had said in 2022. This is as Austin was taking over as DC, that Tomlin was the play caller in even the late LeBeau years, and even during Butler's tenure as DC, that several year stretch that he was the play caller. So this role may have shifted a bit over time. Austin, whenever he came in, was a veteran coach, a former D coordinator himself, a one-time potential future NFL head coach before his units began to struggle and his kind of career arc changed. And so I don't know if the resume of Austin kind of had Tomlin reevaluate, or if Tomlin just decided that it was one less thing on his plate to not have to be the primary defensive play caller. So these things can ebb and flow, but I do think it's still worth pointing out that, play calling is just the product of all the work you put in that week as a staff of how we're going to play this thing.
All right. So if people want to point fingers, which way do they point them?
Whoever is convenient in the moment, I guess.
Right.
I think, everyone on this defense takes blame. I think players, obviously, but Tomlin and Austin. This comment from Austin does not, to me, ever absolve Tomlin from the defensive performance. He's still the guy. He's still the top of the food chain in terms of how this defense performs. And obviously, he's got a big part in how this game plan gets built. Austin confirming that. Tomlin's in all the meetings and helping devise the game plan, even if Austin does a lot of the actual play calling.
All right. What else from Austin was notable?
I mean, that was the big thing I mentioned on Duggar, trying to get him up to speed. I'm just trying to read through some of the questions here. The tackling must be better, and that much is obvious because this defense is really just struggling to get guys on the ground.
What did you put out on some of those rankings on Twitter last night?
What rankings? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Last night on
the man
Twitter.
Coverage?
No, about the defense. Some of the, I'm trying to find it specifically in there, and I responded to it as well. Too. Hold on here. Let me see if I can find it. Where'd you put it?
The third highest blitz rate,
Right.
the third lowest defensive A dot. Yeah, what are you asking about that?
Just rattle those off real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of mentioned this, just kind of summing up my thoughts that I made on the Wednesday podcast. If you had to kind of distill some bullet points of why this defense is struggling so much, Pittsburgh has the third highest blitz rate, but opponents have the third lowest defensive A dot, means the depth of target is short, means the ball is getting out quick to counter that blitz. And Pittsburgh is 30th in aggregate missed tackles despite having the bye week, and then just a lack of team speed overall. So when you're blitzing and offenses are countering that by getting the ball out quickly, and then you can't tackle whenever the ball gets out quickly in space, you don't have team speed to do that, everything else falls apart. So to me, that's kind of a just simple bullet point explanation, domino effect. When you blitz and the blitz doesn't get home, when offenses counter that and you can't tackle, got a lot of problems.
If the late John McKay was still alive, the old coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he'd add on here, and they make up for it by not having sacks and interceptions.
Right. It's all been pretty tough and gets.
I went down that rabbit hole yesterday. I don't forget what made me go down that, because he was asked about the defense. So I forget what he said. He says, "Yeah, we made up for it," or he was talking about the offense and all like that. And he says, "Yeah, we made up for it by not tackling well on defense," or something like that. It just cracked me up. He had some great one-liners there, but
he was the execution. I'm all for it guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. What do you think about your team's execution this week? He says, "Yeah, I'm all for it." You can't. Can you say that nowadays? I don't know, but
no, I don't think so.
Look, this defense has got some turning around to do for sure. And we talked about where this team is from a adjusted net yards per passing attempt standpoint. You look at this team not tackling well last several games, not covering well, not handling motion well. I mean, what have they done well? The last couple of weeks, and then you're going to get tested by an offense this week that can run the football effectively and can not only throw the football but throw the football down the field as well too. So this is a tough week to try to get back right in a lot of these categories. All right, anything else on Austin before we switch over to the few things that Arthur Smith had to say?
I don't want to send us down a rabbit hole because it's probably too messy to try to do and not really worth the discussion. But there was a question about Thornhill, one particular play on, I think, a Romeo Dubs catch on third down where Thornhill buzzed down, and there was a question about, was he in the right position? I don't know if you've seen that play. If you want to go back and look at that play and give the evaluation of it, Austin kind
Was
of
that
gave.
the one, the leaping at the end that ended up going to?
It was along the right sideline. It was later in the game. It was a third down. Pittsburgh had rotated. Thornhill started single high post safety and then came down to they're playing cover 3 to play the curl flat. And there was a question about, is he in the right position? I think he was in the right position. That's his assignment. I think it's a good example more so of this team not having great instincts of understanding the moment. But there is a whole debate about doing your job versus understanding the situation and kind of being flexible to the moment. And I don't know if the conversation really got to that place from Lawson's comment, but I think that's something to look at about how this defense is struggling to make some of those plays and be flexible and be attacking and meet the moment.
Yeah, I was thinking of a different play there. Look, I think just in general, when you look at the tape too, especially in some zone situations, there's just not a lot of awareness where players are going to be, especially in zone situations. It didn't feel like, and obviously the playmaking's not there. You see a lot of miscommunication still throughout games on this. A lot of palms out, guys looking at each other. Heck, you saw it early in the game. You saw it on the 2-point conversion with only 10 men on the field. I think there's 2 other occasions at least that were easy to pick out as well too. This defense doesn't know what they can do best right now, whether it be man or zone. They're getting picked apart in both situations. Opposing quarterbacks are getting the ball out very, very quickly. Be interesting. Look, Daniel Jones doesn't hold on to the football a long time, but he does, at least on average, hold the football a little bit longer than these last couple of quarterbacks have against them. Be interesting to see if the onus will be on. And they've got a very an offensive line that seems to hold up pretty good in just 5-man protections, and they've got a running back that's able to pass protect and pick up some of these corner blitzes and all. You see Quentin Nelson on some tape do a good job of directing the back which way to go, which way he thinks things are going to need to get picked up as well too. So this defense just they need to get back to at least doing a few things well, and I think it starts with being able to getting rush and coverage to go hand in hand, and we just haven't seen that happen in several weeks.
I don't know if you want to pull up the play. If you look at just the defensive tape, it's at 26-35. It's a 3rd and 8, fourth quarter. Green Bay up 29-19, and it was an out route to Dobbs on the right sideline there. And I would love to be a fly on that wall and have a conversation about, because there's always that debate, especially when your defense is struggling. A lot of it is just do your job. Like, don't try to do too much. Don't try to make the big play. And yet you look at these moments and say, well, if you could have it back, would you have adjusted and been kind of not done your assignment to go and try to make the play? And there's really, I think, good and healthy debate to be had about what is best in the moment, especially for a defense that is reeling.
Yeah, I don't have that pulled up. I've got 3 games of the Colts up in my media player right now.
Well, anyway, I think it's just emblematic of this team trying to find that line between having good instincts and making plays while also doing your job, and both have been issues at certain times.
What's your? I mean, cut to the chase here. What's your interpretation of that play you're highlighting there?
Thornhill did his job correctly, but maybe you would rather him adjust and play the moment and play the situation rather than just do your job. But again, I think it's a really good conversation that I don't think was asked the right way, and I don't think we got a great answer about that either.
The thing that we've seen this defense do, those people try to do too much on this defense at times too. So you can't have it both ways where you're saying, do your job, worry about your gap, worry about your role in this coverage out, and then say, but in this situation,
Yeah, I mean, that's a debate. What is more important? What is more valuable? It's probably not black and white. I think it's kind of a blend, because I think some of the great players are able to do their job, but then be able to know when to go outside of that, when to kind of break the rules and color outside the lines. And so there's no perfect, just, XYZ, way to go about this. But you would like this team to, because I think playmaking is about instincts and kind of taking some educated guesses and taking some smart chances. And is this defense doing that? I don't think they are right now.
They're certainly are they at the point where nobody wants to try to maybe go outside of their, have they been beat down where it's just do your job,
Mhm.
and then 11 guys doing your job, that there is no kind of gambling, if you will, or playing outside of the norm to try to make a play.
Sure, I think it's a big part of it. I think when your defense is struggling, you want to get back to basics and just do your job and do your 1 of 11. And so I think that's why you're seeing this defense play a little bit tighter. I think when your defense is rolling and you're playing great and you're making plays and your confidence is high, you have a little more, I think, swagger and a little more confidence in just being able to make that play outside your assignment. So again, there's a long discussion about it. I'm not saying Thornhill was even right or wrong. He was right from an assignment standpoint. There's a good conversation to be had. It was sort of asked, I don't think in a great way, at least, and the answer I thought was a little unsatisfying.
Here's the thing: if this defense does not take the ball away from the Colts and they don't get sacks in this game, it's going to make for a very, very long afternoon. So, uh, you know, our, some of these takeaways just look so simple when you see the other teams do it, and you even notice the one that the Colts had against the Chargers, I think a couple of games ago, where they bat that thing and that thing just goes straight up, and there's a lot of players around, it just comes right down in the defensive lineman's hands. Why can't the Steelers get to why is it and then you look last night the way they ripped that ball out twice. The Ravens did from the Dolphins on near the sideline there in both those instances there. Uh why does it look so easy for these other teams to do it, but yet it's like pulling teeth for the Steelers get a takeaway?
Sure, the ball finds the teams that seem to be doing well. Now, Pittsburgh has had that fortunate, not luck. I hate using that word for turnovers, but those fortunate outcomes. And the 5 turnover game against New England, that kind of stuff was really impressive. So we know Pittsburgh is capable of having those big plays in bunches, but they are in a severe drought right now.
I mean, you even look at what was the last one, the Watt one in over in Dublin, right? I mean, he earned every damn bit of that damn takeaway there.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Pittsburgh, you again, I don't like using luck, but you create your own luck in some of those
Right.
turnover moments by being opportunistic and being around the ball and having high effort and doing those little things.
All right. On over to Arthur Smith. Arthur, he does what he pleases. Do you ever see that movie?
Oh, no idea any of the
Arthur?
references there.
Or
No.
yeah. What was that,
Nope.
Arthur, or was that the movie 10? I can't
Haven't
I
seen
always
either.
confuse. You never saw 10 with Bo Derek?
I don't even know who Bo Derek is.
Oh,
Sounds like it's a name from
bless
like the 80s, isn't it? It's like an
bless
older.
bless your heart. All right, carry on. I don't want to.
Well,
Uh,
it didn't get much more exciting in Arthur Smith's actual answers. A lot of long answers. I don't know how much we really learned about it. It was asked about the jumbo personnel if Spencer Anderson has to fill in for Isaac Seumalo, and Arthur Smith basically said that is for the Colts to find out and me not to tell you guys right now. So did not confirm the team would even use it. I imagine they will try, and they did not say who that man would be. Would it be Pete, McCollum? Could Driscoll get the call up? I'm not quite sure. Really not a whole lot going on here. There was a reference to the Giants' time of possession in Super Bowl XXV, and that's kind of all that was going on there. He did praise Roman Wilson for his ascension and was not shocked by Wilson making plays these last 2 games.
it would be malpractice if they get away from this offensive lineman, right? This extra
They,
offensive lineman.
well, you got to see who can do it well. I think Anderson's skill set was not so unique that it can't be replicated. But if you don't have a guy that can do it, then what is the value of it? You need someone who can actually just do it well. Otherwise, you're kind of being too stubborn and saying we have to do the same thing, even if the personnel doesn't support it. But you'd like to think you can find somebody, whether that's Pete or Driscoll or whoever, that can still keep you in that uh, offense, because it does give Pittsburgh a real unique advantage to have that extra offensive lineman and Darnell Washington, essentially an offensive lineman himself, and Skoranek. You can really make some hay in the run game.
Right. I'll be disappointed if we don't see it. Either Calvin Anderson or look, they even used Ryan McCollum, like I said, on that 2-point conversion. I don't think that's the best option to go with. I like a lot of things that Pete put down. The only thing that I really wanted, I think, see with Pete more of during the preseason was what left tackle work, right? Because he had played They used him some at left guard there. So, but he has played left tackle, or in the NFL. Obviously, to me, I think some of the strong points was him playing run blocking during the preseason there. So that's what I'm rooting for. But regardless, I think we've got to see 10, 11, 12 times uh, this offense roll out an extra offensive lineman and try to run behind it, because I think this Colts team can be run on to some degree, and I think they can be thrown on as well too. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you got to do what you've been. Some of the things you've been doing well these last couple of weeks with this running game going in the right direction, and a lot of that is based on having a jumbo package out there.
And Pete does have a background as an extra offensive lineman. He's got a couple snaps over the last couple seasons, so would make sense. But again, we'll have to see what if Pittsburgh does it, and then more importantly, how effective they are if they do it. Smith talked about the need to be able to come out in the second half and put up points. I think you mentioned just one touchdown drive to open up the third quarter this season. It's really been a tale of two halves. I have an article that I'm going to write for this weekend about Pittsburgh, in their scoring totals quarter by quarter. In the first quarter, Dave, Pittsburgh is outscoring the opposition 40-26. In the second quarter, they are outscoring the opposition 54-40. So a healthy first half lead. Things turn in the second half. In the third quarter, Pittsburgh has been outscored 27-24. So a very low scoring quarter on both ends. And then in the fourth quarter, Dave, Pittsburgh has been outscored 82-57. And so it's a real stark contrast between some really good starts and some really poor finishes.
Let me see if that matches up to mine. Team 50. You said 57-82, right? In the fourth?
In the fourth quarter, yes.
Right,
Advantage opponents.
Right. So, and a lot of this too, it tends to be kind of carry over from midway or later on in the third quarter, right? Because we kind of even saw that against the Packers as well too. The quarter shifted over right when the Packers had made that play deep down into the Steelers' end, and then they punched it in early in the fourth quarter there. So
sure, that's fair.
We're seeing the tail off, I think, from 5 minutes on in the third quarter on into the fourth quarter. The actual scoring though isn't probably taking place until the fourth quarter, but that's quite the lopsidedness right there. And oh yeah, your point differential, I think, for the season right now is 0, right? 0.000, right?
Yes, sir. 175-175.
You look at a team at like the Colts, and they lead the league in scoring differential.
Yeah, I think it's plus 116, top of my head. Does that sound right?
They are one. I'll tell you this: they're 270 to 1. It sounds like a blood pressure, 270 over 154.
Well, if that's your blood pressure, go consult a doctor. Stop listening to the podcast. Yes, they are plus 116, best in the NFL by far.
Here's an interesting number for them.
What is your blood pressure? What doctors are you going to?
No, I was just
all right, just making sure you're
actually
okay.
my blood pressure is actually fantastic. I'm on cholesterol medicine. It's been a long time since I've been this healthy. Probably about day 4 coming out of the wound. Maybe I was.
The Steelers are testing that blood pressure this year, I'm sure.
Going over some of their scoring differential right now, the Colts 52-26 in the first quarter, 92-37 in the second quarter, 72-42 in the third quarter. So they've definitely been a good second and third quarter team, and they've been holding on in the fourth quarter, 54-49. So they have obviously outscored their opponents in all 4 quarters, but 92-37 in the second quarter and 72-42 in the third quarter is when it's happening for them.
In the fourth quarter, is just partially they rested some guys, and teams are throwing late and garbage time. No one cares, and so that's why that differential is tight. But the Colts still having the advantage. Anything else from Arthur Smith, Dave?
No. I think we talked about the main bullet points to come out of both those press conferences there.
All right, Dave, with that, before you and I cover this 7-1 Colts team, let's hear from a beat writer who covers them every single day. That man is Joel A. Erickson, who covers the Colts for the Indy Star for 7 seasons and 8 football seasons, the way that he couched it. He covers them. You can follow Joel on Twitter at Joel A. Erickson. Let's take a pause and come back with Joel.
And welcome back to the Terrible Podcast. It is Friday, and everybody knows what that means. We have a beat writer who covers the opposing team that the Pittsburgh Steelers will be playing this week. And with this being week 9 in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers are hosting the Indianapolis Colts at Acrisure Stadium on Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time. And with the Steelers playing the Colts, we are pleased to have a first timer on the Terrible Podcast. It's rare that we say that with these beat writers nowadays, but excited to welcome to the show Joel A. Erickson. And Joel covers the Indianapolis Colts for the Indianapolis Star. You can follow Joel on Twitter at Joel A. Erickson. He's covered the Colts for 7-8 years or so, and he's been with the Indy Star for about that long as well, too. Also does work for Fox 59 and CBS 4 in Indianapolis as well. So long introduction there, but with that, Joel, welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex. Happy Friday. Happy Halloween to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Joel, let's start first. Impressive start to the season here for the Indianapolis Colts, 7-1 coming into this game. You look at the one loss, you can make a good argument. They probably should be undefeated at this point as well, too. Let's with a 30,000-foot look back and going into the start of the regular season, and obviously they had brought in Daniel Jones to push Anthony Richardson. He ends up not only getting that job, but having a great start to the season. What were your thoughts on this 2025 Indianapolis Colts going into the season, and based on obviously where they're at right now? Because I don't think a lot of people had them sitting where they're at right now.
Well, I had them at 7 wins for the season, so
Wow.
I was off by quite well. I guess in theory I could still be right, but in reality, I'm almost certainly not going to be right. I didn't know. I didn't see Daniel Jones coming to this level. I understood why Shane Steichen won competition. I understand why the Colts won competition. Nothing we'd really seen in New York from Daniel Jones told us he was going to be the kind of quarterback he is here, but the longer he plays here, the more it feels like the Giants didn't know what they had or what they were dealing with there, because he's just not really doing any of the stuff that he did in New York. He's doing a lot of different stuff, and it's working really, really well. But yeah, at the beginning of the season, I was thinking, my January might be busy because they might be moving on from a coach and a GM, and now I think my January might be busy because of the playoffs.
When you look at how Daniel Jones has fit in there, you look at offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter, and you're right. You're seeing Daniel Jones be able to play in the pocket real well. He's obviously got a great running game. Their offensive line is really, really gelled good together. They've got some amazing wide receivers over there as well, too. What's been the biggest part of Daniel Jones' game? Well, I mean, everybody knows Jonathan Taylor. He was a good running back ahead of this, but the way the offense is being run through him really has opened up the rest. What is the biggest thing that has stuck out, I guess, about Daniel Jones' game based on what most of us knew about him coming out of New York?
Well, if you think about like the profile I was given and what I thought was coming in with Daniel Jones was, this is a guy that's a run first quarterback. That year they went to the playoffs, they ran the ball a ton. He's mobile, but he's going to take a lot of sacks in the pocket. He's not going to throw the ball down the field. And he's a guy you kind of have to get on the move. The Colts are doing the exact opposite of that. They're playing him from the pocket. He's not really being used on designed runs at all, and they're not afraid to attack down the field. Now, I think Alec Pierce as a wide receiver is probably maybe outside of Indianapolis not fully understood how good he is as a deep threat because he doesn't have the huge catch numbers, but the guy just gets deep once a game. So it helps to have him there for throwing the ball down the field. But I think the real thing is that in Daniel Jones, Shane Steichen found somebody who sees the game the way he does. And what I mean by that is Shane Steichen is a guy who he's gonna figure out what you do defensively. He's going to figure out what you like to run, and then he's going to build a game plan to attack what those things are. He needs a quarterback who can do it at the line of scrimmage, who can diagnose what he's seeing, because obviously no defense does the exact same thing every week. But if he knows 2 or 3 tendencies based on the situation, he needs a quarterback who can diagnose what you're doing, get into the play he's been given for that coverage, and then just make the right throw. And he hasn't really had that with Anthony Richardson. He didn't really have that with Gardner Minshew either, because Minshew was either afraid or unwilling to throw deep. Jones hasn't been either of those things. And so what you have is kind of Steichen's play calling at full strength for the first time in Indianapolis.
How much do you think that looks like they use a lot of motion on tape, at least the last several games that I've watched, especially with Josh Downs and on. It really stretches the defense and gives some good reads there. Are you surprised about the amount of motion that they're using, and how do you think that's helped this offense?
I think it helps with the identification. I think it helps Jones figure out what's going on in the secondary to some degree. I think the other thing is they've got some guys that maybe you would want to target, especially Tyler Warren at tight end, the rookie. And I think having that motion, one of the other benefits of having all that motion is there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. And, if you want to put Tyler Warren at fullback, or you want to put him at wingback, or one of these other places and make him harder to find, it helps if there's guys running around. But yeah, I also think it's probably a lot of it is, it's going to give the quarterback a picture.
Our own Alex Kozora here is probably the number one Alec Pierce fan outside of Indy. He's been touting Alec Pierce for a while, hoping that the Steelers would somehow land him as a deep threat. Go ahead, Alex.
He's leading the NFL in yards per catch for the second year if he does that, the first one since Flipper Anderson in 1989, 1990. That's a fun stat I got looking at. Joel, this question might seem a little silly, but is Jonathan Taylor a little underrated? We hear about Saquon Barkley, we hear about Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson. We don't hear about Jonathan Taylor nearly as much. What's made him such an effective runner and having really an MVP caliber season?
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think he's underrated. I saw some list where he wasn't put on a list of the top 10 backs in the league in the preseason. And, that's a Colts haven't been good thing, I think, more than anything. Because, he dragged Carson Wentz to the precipice of the playoffs by himself in 2021. He's that kind of back. And I think the thing that maybe sticks out to me about what he's doing this year is, number one, he's healthy. He is not dealing with the high ankle sprains anymore. And number two, they don't have to hammer it away with him all the time like they did in 2021. By the second half of 2021, everybody in the stadium knew that the Colts were going to run Jonathan Taylor on first down, run Jonathan Taylor on second down, and if they got close enough to the first down marker on third down, they were going to run him again because they didn't want Carson Wentz to throw. They don't have to do that this year. They're throwing it a lot early on in games and then using JT to close games. And you look at a game like last week, he has 150 rushing yards. It's on 12 carries because, he's able to hit the big one without having to pound away into these heavy fronts. Because if you do stack the box the way you did in 2021, that the 21 team didn't have the receivers that this team does, or the tight end that this team does, or the ability to get down the field. You can stack the box like that if you want to stop Taylor, but Jones and Steichen are going to pick you apart.
I know you mentioned it a moment ago about Tyler Warren, his versatility, and you're right. You're seeing him in the fullback. They're doing some really fun, inventive things with him. He was versatile at Penn State, but was the intent to use him the way they're using him now, or is that versatility something they kind of really found out about him throughout training camp and throughout the early portions of the season?
Yeah, it was part of the plan right away. Shane was talking about it almost as soon as the draft pick was there. Like, we can do a lot of different stuff with this guy. I think the most fun part for me about the way they're using Tyler Warren is you get to see old school football kind of brought back in. They run plays out of the offset eye. They've run a halfback ISO like it's 1980. They've lined him up on the wing and run like the old wing T counter that I used to play against in high school football in Wisconsin, but they shoveled it instead of handing it off. So I think that's the fun part for me, is that they're bringing back some of this like old school type stuff with him. He just kind of lets them do that. I think it kind of makes it fun to see, like people see a shovel pass to the tight end and they think, oh, that's, they're getting crazy with it. Well, it's just a counter. They just pitched it instead of handing it off.
Right. Dave, go ahead.
When you look around, you want to talk about underrated players, specifically on this Colts team. Not a lot of people would probably be able to tell you who the center is for this team. And that, of course, is Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin. And you look, boy, he just jumps off the tape. A lot of people will name Creed Humphrey and Linderbaum, and more people might even know who Zach Frazier is from the Steelers than they maybe would Tanner Bortolini. Amazing season. This guy seems like he's on pace for all pro, potentially Pro Bowl. And oh yeah, they've got other guys on that offensive line like Quentin Nelson. Everybody knows about as well. How good has Tanner Bortolini been actually?
He's taken a huge jump. He's taken a huge jump this year, and I think Steelers fans, you guys have had some centers like this. Like I could be wrong. I don't know the Steelers as well, but I feel like Dermontti Dawson was this type of player where you could move him around more than most centers. Like the thing with Bortolini is if you go back and look at his combine numbers, he has this otherworldly combine for a center. He's just much faster. He's the first center to break Jason Kelsey's 3-cone mark in the combine since Kelsey was there. And you go, what does that mean? It doesn't always mean something. But with Bortolini, now that he knows what he's doing and he can use that, they get him out in a lot of different areas. There was a screen against the Titans last week where the safety is coming down hard on Tyler Warren, and he's probably 4 steps away from Bortolini, and he's fast enough and agile enough to change direction and go get him and pick him off of Warren. Bortolini's been really, really good. And then you have Quentin Nelson probably playing his best football in a couple of years, and I think some of that just has to do with there's less chaos around him, and he can be the normal Quentin Nelson that you're used to. But yeah, Bortolini and the way they're using him, one of the big things with Taylor is he's really tough to stop once he gets to the second level, and then on top of that, your linebackers are dealing with Bortolini moving like a fullback almost.
Absolutely. They do a good job with him out in space, and Jonathan Taylor does hit the hole quick. And if you get a blocker out in space, either Nelson or Bortolini, and get them on those linebackers, they're tough to shake there. What would you, before I turn it over to Alex for a couple of to talk about defense here, if there was one negative, I guess, about this offense, and they're hard to pick out overall, is it the fact that sometimes Daniel Jones maybe holds on to the football a little longer, and some of the, he obviously hasn't been sacked a lot overall, and he only has about 3 interceptions on the year. But if there's one negative thing about it, is it the fact that maybe Daniel Jones at times will hold on to the football a little bit too long?
Not necessarily. He's actually been much better with that than it feels like. He's had a good feel for with the Titans game last week is the first time that he kind of took a couple sacks.
Okay.
But for the most part this season, he's been really good about knowing when to get rid of it, when to scramble. I think if there's anything that you worry about with this offense right now, it's just, what happens if a team actually provides consistent pressure on him? We haven't we've seen, or I shouldn't say pressure. What if teams actually get to him sack wise? Because they played Denver, and Denver blitzed a ton, and he faced a ton of blitzes through the first 3 games of the season. It didn't really matter because they didn't get home enough. The Steelers with their outside rushers, can they crack the tackles? It's tough. It's Bernard Ryman and Braden Smith, but can somebody start to crack those tackles a little bit and force Jones to play sped up a little bit more? Honestly, we haven't seen it yet. We're 8 games in and it hasn't really happened yet. We've seen like flashes, for a drive or two. We haven't seen it yet, but that's kind of what I think, short of injury, is the thing that I think about the most.
He seems to get the ball out fine either against the blitz or not against the blitz, and the analytics back that up as well too. He's having a great start to the season. Alex, go ahead.
Defensively, who would you call the heart and soul of this group? It kind of reminds me when Pittsburgh played Minnesota earlier in the season. It's a really good defense that may not have that gaudy headline name, that star player, but who is the heart and soul? Is it Franklin? Is it Buckner? Is it somebody else?
It's Buckner. It's Buckner. If you watch, so I have a habit of watching games through my binoculars by focusing on the lines. And the thing is, it's Buckner, and other teams know it's Buckner because that guy faces double teams just all the time. They're always getting two people to him. But Buckner is the guy who, like, he's the one who's really a difference maker up front. He creates a lot of the early pressure. Again, I would say I know what the Steelers are going to do because it's what everybody does. They're going to put a ton of bodies on him, and you can at times take him out of the game a little bit by doing that. Uh, and sometimes I would say that this defensive line doesn't really have somebody else who's going to make you pay for that consistently. But it's Buckner. And the other thing I think to watch is Buckner on plays where he's trailing the play or they go away from him. I Stars don't hustle the way he does. Like guys who rush the passer and play as many snaps as he does don't chase the way he does. He's always chasing the play, always making play, always hustling. So yeah, he's the heart and soul.
And that hustle has him leading all defensive linemen in tackles this season. A defensive coordinator changed to Lou Anarumo. What impact has he had? And then kind of off of that, Jermaine Pratt, who was with him in Cincinnati, gets signed midseason. What has been Pratt's role in this defense?
Yeah, Pratt is playing a lot of snaps right now. I think if you isolate him in coverage, you can, with the right guy, you can kind of take advantage of him being up there a little bit more. Anarumo, I think the biggest thing with Anarumo is you're not going to get a consistent picture from him. He's not going to do the same stuff over and over again. That's kind of what the Colts had been for the last 7 years with Bradley and with Eberflus. And even now, like they are banged up at corner. They are not playing the corners they want to play, but he's still running. You'll see a lot of stuff where like there's 2 defensive linemen and 3 people roaming around, and then at the rush there's a simulated pressure and 2 of them come and 2 of them don't. Um, he's trying a lot of stuff, and well, they don't. I don't think they have the corners to really play that and be dominant. I do think it's part of the reason that they're still creating turnovers, even though they don't have the corners they would prefer to have back there.
Yeah, some of the post-snap rotation, even the secondary, some really fun, inventive stuff. My last question for you, Joel, then I'll let Dave finish things out. You've probably been asked about this before, but Carly Ursay Gordon, visible presence, a lot of viral media stuff with her. What's the backstory on her being on the sideline, being around the team so much, taking notes? What is she observing? Can kind of just shed some light on what's gone really viral and gained a lot of attention?
Yeah, so I got a one-on-one with Carly earlier this year, and that started with when they hired Chuck Pagano and Ryan Grigson. So we're going back more than a decade now. She was in the interview process for the first time, knowing that she would eventually take over for her father. And in that interview process, she realized I need to know whether or not these people are selling me a line or not. Like I need to know if they know what they're talking about. Now, obviously, she's not a coach. She's not like, but she needed to understand, when they start laying out their plans for the team and what they're going to do with an offense or with whatever, she needed to actually be able to understand that. So she started out watching film, and kind of learning everything that way. And then when Frank Reich got here, Frank Reich was like, she said, you know what, can I be on the sideline? Can I hear the headset to know like what goes into a play call, what goes into all that stuff? Reich thought that was a great idea, and she's done it ever since. And so like that's kind of what she's doing is she's listening on the headset. A big part of what she's doing also is she feels like if she hears it in game, she has a better idea of what the coaches need. And that can be anything from like equipment, like if the headsets keep going out or whatever, or to personnel. Do we need to go get somebody in the off season? And is she hearing a consistent thing of we can't do it with this guy, that kind of thing? I think the other thing is, and the example she used to me in the interview that we did was a lot of times, like a coach will get killed for a play call. Why did they throw it to this guy? Why wasn't this guy on the field? And what we don't know is that, that player was unavailable. The trainer was looking at his ankle or something like that, or they just said that he needed and I think she likes to have that information right away. One of the other things that sticks out is that like, this is kind of how she does it with everything. She used to work in the ticket office when she was learning that, and when she was selling a seat to somebody, she would go to the stadium and sit in the seat
Oh, wow.
to like get the view. So this is kind of like she's a very hands-on. The other thing she told me was they have one of those red light bed things now. And she's done it like for inflammation or whatever. She's done it to see what it feels. She's very like hands-on with stuff. Um, and I think it's probably a good thing. Like you want your owner, you don't want your owner to be calling plays or anything like that. I think the Colts saw that a couple years ago when Irsay decided we're going to start Sam Ellinger over two veteran quarterbacks in the middle of a season. But on the flip side, you also don't want an owner who doesn't know anything about the game. And that's the difference here is that she's actively trying to learn and know about the game. Because I mean, the way she put it was she has to be able to tell whether or not someone's BSing her.
Joel, what's the best way for the Steelers to attack this defense? Steelers are obviously going to come out with multiple tight ends. That's their MO. They don't push the football down the field a lot, but if you give Aaron Rodgers time, obviously he can. See on film that occasionally the Colts defense can be hit down the field. More times than not, feels like it might be outside the numbers. They're not a defense that feels like they blitz a lot. I think they're right around in the middle of the league as far as that goes. What is the best plan of attack for the Steelers offensively against this defense?
Go after the outside corners and the linebackers. Just those tight ends in the middle of the field against the linebackers. Especially if you have multiple of them on the field, you can kind of clear out some safeties and get your tight end on Zaire Franklin or Jermaine Pratt in coverage. They've really struggled against tight ends this year. And then on the outside, they're just so banged up at corner. The whole plan was to have Charvarius Ward come in and be the number one corner. And if he was healthy, he would be taking DK Metcalf and you'd have a real battle there. And then he could play matchup otherwise. Well, Ward's out. Jalen Jones is out. The rookie they drafted is out for the season. Xavier Howard didn't work. They're kind of on like their fifth, sixth, and seventh corners on the outside. So go at them. Go at them with Metcalf. Go at them with receivers. Go at them with Rodgers. The pressure wise, like I said, double team Buckner and let the other guys try to beat you. I think Rodgers has taken like 12 sacks this year, so he's getting the ball out pretty fast. Generally, those quarterbacks have hurt the Colts this season. If you go back to the Rams game and watch Matthew Stafford, it's you got to throw. You got to throw. That's the best way to beat them right now because they're too far down into their cornerback depth chart to really challenge on the outside the way that Lou Anarumo wants to.
Is there anybody to keep an eye on the Friday injury report? We're obviously recording this before the Friday practice takes place here. Is there anyone really notable to pay attention to on Friday?
Grover Stewart, the nose tackle. The run defense changes significantly without him. He was out on Wednesday with a foot injury. He was out again on Thursday, but that's usually his rest day. So I don't think it necessarily means for sure that we're not going to see him today. But that if he was out, that would be a pretty big that'd be big news.
All right. Joel, I got a feeling I know which way you're going to go on this, and I wouldn't blame you with it. If this feels like a game that the Colts have to lose, basically, and self-inflicted errors such as turnovers and multiple sacks and maybe giving up big plays on the other end. How do you see this game going on Sunday at Acrisure Stadium? And if you wouldn't mind, throw out the score prediction for us as well.
I have the Colts winning in a shootout, 35-31. I know Acrisure has been a house of horrors for this team, but it's just the way the Steelers defense is playing right now and the way the Colts offense is playing right now. You kind of laid it out there. It's the Colts have to do something in this game that we haven't seen them do to kind of give the Steelers defense a chance here. Because it just doesn't seem like it just, I'm not used to looking at Pittsburgh and going, oh, their defense is pretty gettable, but that's kind of what it looks like right now.
You're excited about going to Germany, and tell us about what's going on over at the Indy Star heading into this weekend.
Yeah, so I am excited about going to Germany. We went to Frankfurt, so I'm excited to see Berlin. Frankfurt is kind of more of a like economic center. It's not really a touristy type thing, so I'll be interested to see what's going on there. And we've got some stuff coming out next week. Like there's going to be a Daniel Jones piece that kind of looks back at his history from another writer. I'm doing something coming up on Bjorn Werner, the former first round pick who apparently is like Pat McAfee and Tony Romo combined in Germany.
Oh, nice.
When we were there in Frankfurt, I didn't know this. I knew he did TV over there, but like I wanted to talk to him briefly before the game, and I followed him around for 3 hours, and he was on TV the whole time, just a different channel every time. Like he is a superstar over there. And it's interesting because Colts fans think of him as a bust, and over in Germany, he's the voice of football.
Nice. All right. Well, Joe, we certainly glad to have you on first time on the Terrible Podcast. People make sure they go out and follow Joel on Twitter as well. We'll get that out there as a link in the post there, and make sure you read his work this weekend over at the Indianapolis Star. Joel, have a great trip over to Pittsburgh. Enjoy the game, and we look to have you back on next time these two teams get together. Thanks for being on with Dave and Alex.
You bet. I gotta say, I always love coming to Pittsburgh, whether it's for this or for a Pirates game or whatever. Love the city.
And welcome back to the Terrible Podcast. Our special thanks to Joel A. Erickson for his great insight and coverage of the team over at the Indy Star. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at Joel A. Erickson. Really good stuff from Joel, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's rare for us to have to get a first-time beat writer in here, but they've obviously been some changes, I think, on the Colts beat over the years, and some of our regulars are either covering other teams or doing bigger picture things in the NFL for like the Athletic and all. So it was a great first time for Joel, and it seems like the Steelers play the Colts every year, so maybe we'll turn around next year and end up having Joel on as well too. So thanks for everybody for listening to that. And if you get a chance, make sure to shout him out on Twitter /X at Joel A. Erickson. We'll have that link in the post for this podcast episode. We know Margie's going to do it, and there's a couple others that seem to get on the train as well too. So we appreciate it if you do have time to shout Joel out and thank him for his time.
All right, Dave, let's preview this game. Pittsburgh 4-3 as that divisional race starts to tighten even more. The Colts 7-1, flying high in the AFC. You're right, the Steelers and Colts seem to play each other every single season, but here's finally a game in Pittsburgh. Usually it's Pittsburgh going on the road, and the Colts are 1-13 going to Pittsburgh since the 1970 merger. Only win was 2008 when Peyton Manning threw 3 touchdowns, including a game winner late. But none of that matters. All that matters is the here and now. The Colts are flying high. Pittsburgh trying to keep their head above water. Let's start with this Colts offense. Daniel Jones revived. Jonathan Taylor. He should be an MVP candidate, even though a quarterback is likely to win the award. A bevy of weapons for Jones to throw to, a good offensive line. Obviously, a lot to like here for the Colts, Dave. When you watch this team, where does it start? What are your thoughts?
It starts with the sign of the cross.
Okay.
Blessing myself, or trying to bless, try to pray for some answers here. That's how it starts, because they look really, really impressive on tape here. And about the whole trends thing, we found out last week, and look, they're fun to spout. They make great talking points about the Packers have not won in Pittsburgh since 1970. Well, that's all changed now, right?
Sure.
There. So this is a different Colts team. It starts at the quarterback position with Daniel Jones. Really, and Mike Tomlin hit on this with the culture and the situation and all. He has jumped right in. It's funny to hear Joel talk about. I thought at first he was saying, "Well, I had him at 7 wins." At this point of the season. Well, damn, good on you, man. If you predicted that this team would be 7-1, but he had them at 7 wins for the season, and they've already obviously equaled that at this point. And this Colts team has surprised a lot of people here, and I think it does start at the quarterback position there. They're doing a great job of protecting him. They're doing a great job at staying out of a lot of, I think, long situations here. He's obviously not taking a lot of sacks. He's not throwing the football away. I think 2 of his interceptions maybe came in one game, and he kind of lollipopped them over to hung them up there on the left side over there. They've got a great running game to support him. They use in a couple of games that I've watched, they're using a lot of eye candy as far as motion. They'll with Josh Downs, they'll motion him quite a bit. You see a lot of orbit motion go behind the running back there. They'll take Jonathan Taylor and motion him out of the backfield. They'll go empty. They have easy ways of getting tells from the opposing defense if they're concerned about what a defense might be in. They'll take Jonathan Taylor, will line him up way outside. They'll go empty in some situations. They're utilizing their tight ends. They'll even though they are a heavy 11 personnel, probably 2-to-1 over 12 personnel, they can function out of 12 personnel if they want to. They'll play Mo Alley Cox and Warren, the rookie tight end. They'll line both those guys up on the line of scrimmage, or they'll put one of the two in the backfield. We see a lot of Warren in the backfield. They'll run Warren out of the backfield they'll do some things even with make it look like some split zone where the tight end just keeps going and they're able to throw out of him. It becomes a big guessing game because they're able to be so multiple in their personnel and their formations, and then they're able to be multiple out of each one of those personnel groups and formations, and that just makes it really tough on an opposing defense. And what was one of the things that stuck out to you, Alex, against this game against the Packers? The Steelers did not handle motion well at all, and they're going to get a lot of it in this game. And they're going to get a heavy dose of Jonathan Taylor. They can run all the schemes, inside zone, outside zone, duo. Saw some pin and pull work for them with their wide receivers and pulling out their right guard. As we talked with Joel, their center's playing out of this world, at least on the last couple of games that I saw. There's some holes that I think I could even get 1 or 2 yards on in this offense here. So it's gonna be interesting to see if the Steelers can get Daniel Jones to hold on to the football. And even though he hasn't taken a lot of sacks overall, I think that's going to be the best chance that you have. If he does hold on to the football, you gotta get to him, and you gotta try to get that football out from him.
Well, the Packers game showed stopping the run does not necessarily mean a great day or a good day for the Steelers defense. It does still start there. It's still the foundational building blocks of this defense. And this Colts run game, for as much attention as Daniel Jones and his success rightfully has gotten, it's still the ground game with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's having a great season. He's currently the Triple Crown leader in all the rushing categories: carries, yards, touchdowns. As Joel said, they're not killing him either with 25 carries a game. He's averaging 17 or so attempts per game. The Colts have 18 rushing touchdowns through the first 8 weeks of the season. That's the most by any team since the 1976 Baltimore Colts before they became Indianapolis. And so they're really doing some rare stuff there, and that's where it begins. I thought Joel made a good point. It's not just inside zone either. They're doing some kind of old school stuff with the strong eye formation, and Tyler Warren's versatility is giving them a lot of different looks. Man, I think Warren in the backfield presents a lot of problems, not just in the run game, but also in the play action game in terms of him getting out in space and leaking out and going vertical. It kind of has like a 1980s feel, which is what Joel had talked about. So I think that's kind of where this thing starts, is managing the run game, getting hats to the ball, tackling well against Jonathan Taylor. And the reason why some of those holes have been there, the line's really good, but as you said, the window dressing too. They want to use motion to slow down your eyes, mess with your keys, and get you out of position. And so how Pittsburgh handles that in the run game is really important.
Yeah, look, they're not afraid to. They use a lot of 2x2 in this, and then also they will motion heavy and have motion going one way, and they'll throw back to the X to the X receiver on the other side too, if they got the numbers out there that they like. So their screen game is strong. They'll throw the ball to Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield. They'll obviously leak these tight ends out as well. They're a lot to defend, and I think Alec or Joel got the understanding that you might be the sole guy that knows the most about Alec Pierce outside of Indianapolis, because we've had talks about Alec Pierce a lot. He is a guy that can still stack on the outside. They're not afraid to throw the ball up to him in some contested catches either. And look, you get past their top three of Pittman and Alec Pierce and Josh Downs. They've got a guy, and I forgot to ask him about this as well too, in AD Mitchell and all. This is a highly touted young player that's still trying to find his groove and really hasn't hit his potential yet. And you're in trouble if that guy has a game.
Well, he's been in the doghouse for some mental mistakes, none bigger than dropping the ball at the 1 yard line a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be. By the way, the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel seems to still have a job, but the Dolphins, just fired their GM, Chris Greer. And so there's Halloween for him after that 28-6 loss to the Ravens last night. Colts, I know, keep saying Colts. Dolphins have been talked about in trade deadline. Could they move somebody? They probably will, but Greer no longer making those decisions. Yeah, I mean, I love Alec Pierce.
McDaniel's not going to be, doesn't feel like, to me, if you're going to make that, you might as well go the whole kit caboodle. It feels like the great time to do it. Poor Mike McDaniel looked like he was in misery. And I know you didn't watch all the game last night and all, but, and look, a lot of execution errors. They kept shooting them. They were driving the football down. I don't want to interrupt this and recap the whole show or the whole game last night and all. They were moving the football at different points of that game and get down in a low red zone or at least down in the 30 and lower or top of the red zone there, and they kept shooting themselves in the foot for whatever reason. You missed a field goal on top of it, and but Mike McDaniel looked like he was in misery. And then he ran immediately. He shook John Harbaugh's hand, and he sprinted towards the locker room after that as well. So it'll be interesting to see what's happened there. So I'm not surprised that Greer was fired there. But back to the Colts and the business at hand here. Now look, they have played 8 games. They're one of 6, 7 teams that have played every week so far this season, have not had their bye week yet. They have 112 plays on offense of 10 or more yards. They are second in the NFL to only the Kansas City Chiefs. 83 passing plays and 29 rushing plays. So this is a team that can get 10 or more yards either through the air or on the ground. And if they're able to work Daniel Jones in his shotgun. Mostly, he will go under center some. They utilize a lot of play action, suck those linebackers up, especially if they're having success in the running game early. And Jonathan Taylor, man, if you don't get an arm on him as he breaks that line of scrimmage, he's very hard to get down at the second. Once he builds up that head of steam as well too. And as we talked about with Joel, they do a good job of getting someone, either their center or Quentin Nelson, out to the second level to cause chaos and get a body on a linebacker. And it's hard to get unstuck from those guys. And we've seen the Steelers inside linebackers struggle of getting unstuck off of linebackers at times this year at the second level.
Sure, and just to go back to the pass game with Pierce, they're going to throw some deep posts to him. Count on that. They're going to give him a couple chances to go make some plays, and he's been making those plays routinely. He's not a traditional burner, but he's a long strider. He's a big body and just has a knack for winning deep. He led the NFL in yards per catch last year. He's leading the NFL in yards per catch this year. I mentioned Joe, I love the stat. Would be the first player to do so in back-to-back years since Flipper Anderson in 1989 and 1990. I know we generally, as the kids say, glaze the opposition every single time we kind of preview these games, but it is hard to find a weakness with this Colts team. They don't turn the ball over. I think they only have 3 giveaways all season, 1 over the last 4 games. They're 4th best on third down. They're 8th best in the red zone. Watch out for them on possession downs. They've gone for it on 4th down 12 times this season. They've converted 10 of those. That's the highest rate in the NFL. They've only done it trailing maybe once or twice, I think twice this season. So they're doing it whenever they're ahead. They're being aggressive. All of 12 have come on 4th and 2 or closer. So even if you get that 3rd down stop or 3rd and 9 becomes 4th and 1, don't be surprised if the offense stays out there. They punted just 16 times this season, 2 per game. That's fewest in the NFL in the pass game. Levels concept, play action, boot, those deep posts to Pierce. And then on third down, I know it's Pittman and Pierce and Warren. Josh Downs leads the team in third down receptions and first downs on third down. He's a really good slot receiver, super athletic, twitched up kind of a guy, hard to cover in man-to-man. So watch out for him.
Out of 2x2 formation plays, of the 471 total plays they've run, 235 have come out of that personnel of the 2x2 formations, which is almost 50% of their plays. Their EPA 51, expected points added 51.33, and that's number one in the NFL as far as EPA rank there when they go 3x1. Either 3x1 or 1x3. They've obviously had success in that as well, and even in 2x1 sets, I think their expected points added is tops in the NFL as far as that. Formationally, they can.
How many 2x1 sets have they had? Is there a chart on the number of 2x1?
18.
And that really means you have multiple guys in the backfield in 2x1. Otherwise, you can't be 2x1 with all those receivers out there, which again speaks to Warren playing a lot of fullback, doing some old school type of stuff.
And formationally, they will have a more condensed formation at times and beat you that way, or they're not. They're, as I mentioned, at that kind of top two, they're not afraid to spread you out and go empty. And you'll see a couple of times in this game of Jonathan Taylor lined up outside wide.
Yeah, it's a fun offense. It's inventive, and they're certainly firing on all cylinders. So, and he touched on it before, but if you're Pittsburgh, you're defensively, the Colts are good. It's no surprise to anybody. How do you stop them? How do you attack them? How do you gain an edge?
You got to stop the run. However, you probably and look, Daniel Jones either against the blitz or not against the blitz seems to be just fine in those situations there. You got to figure out ways to get pressure. You're going to have to stop the run first and foremost, and then obviously just try to mix up your coverages there. You cannot let them stay ahead of the chains because it just opens up everything. You've got to get them in must passing downs, 3rd and 7 type situations or longer, and then try to get Daniel Jones not to throw for the chains.
Yeah, you don't blitz in this game. I think this is a non-blitz game. Of course, there may be a couple times where you do it, and you have some of those green dogs, but you're not sending pressure. As Joel said, the Broncos tried it. They failed. That's a really good defense. You're sitting back, and maybe that does get Jones to hold onto the ball longer when there's just more guys in coverage, when that first read is more muddied and taken away, when it's not just cover one. He can kind of roll through the coverages and his progressions really easily. So maybe the rush gets home a little bit more. You got to find ways to create that negativity. I know the instinct is to blitz and put some pressure and heat on Daniel Jones, but I think you sit back, you drop 7, you rush 4, and that's kind of the way you attack this thing in coverage. And of course, as you said, you got to stop the run. You got to be gap sound. They're going to run in the boundary. They're going to pull. They're going to get extra numbers. And so you got to be really disciplined with your eyes, with the motion. You got to be able to tackle and rally the effort. I think maybe there's been a little bit too much made about a lack of effort for the Steelers defense, but I don't think it's been good enough where it needs to be. It has to be fanatical to kind of pick yourself up and get this tide turned. It's been just okay with some questionable moments fit in there. And against the Colts, you got to be 100% the whole way through. You got to run through the tape because this offense will make you pay if you don't.
Daniel Jones is doing a good job off of play action too on some of these kind of quick slants. They're not RPOs, but a lot of them, a few of them are designed passes where he just does a good job of holding the linebacker and drawing that linebacker up to get that kind of that gap there for quick slant. As well too, so you got to be on the lookout for the slant. We didn't see the Packers do this a lot with the bunch formation, much in the same way that the Bengals did, but they do a good job on some of the rub offs as well too against man. So you got to be real disciplined on who gets maybe the underneath guy. Getting rubbed off, or you're able to pass those things off, because I think we'll see a little bit of that game in this game as well too. And another thing to be wary of too is when they do send Jonathan Taylor on motion, kind of directly out of the backfield, they'll I didn't see it a lot on the tape. They used it more as, I think, window dressing, but I'll look for them to throw to Jonathan Taylor on him sprinting out in motion and getting him out on space, because he's real good with the football out in his hands. And the screen, there's just so many different ways that they can paper cut you to death in this offense, really. And that's why this is a very scary situation for the Steelers. You cannot give up yak to this team. They are going to have, this game's going to have probably its ebbs and flows of them moving the football, but you just cannot allow the free yards. And man, there was that clip by NFL.com put up on Tucker Kraft, and we beat this dead horse anyway. I mean, you just look at all the yak that he had versus the air yardage to him, and that played a huge part in the Steelers' loss to this. A loss to the Packers. It was just how much yak. So you got to make them run a lot of plays in this, and hopefully you're getting off the field in third down, because they are, as you stated, they're right up there in tops in the league in third down conversions.
Yeah, can you stop the tight ends? Pittsburgh historically has always had trouble, and I think especially it bottomed out this year. Wrote the article this morning on a per game basis against tight ends collectively. Pittsburgh's defense is 30th in receptions allowed, dead last in yards, 31st in yards per reception, and 31st in touchdowns allowed to tight ends 6 in 7 games. And of course, Tucker Kraft having that historically good game against Pittsburgh last weekend. So Tyler Warren's found the end zone 3 of his last 4 games. A big body, super versatile. Finding him is going to be key. It's going to even be harder because Kraft was easy to find. Warren's a lot more hidden. And with the play action stuff and backfield action they use with him, it becomes a tough challenge for these linebackers.
We talk about how these opposing offenses, as of late, have the MO of trying to get the ball out. It'll be interesting to see how disciplined maybe the Colts are to try to do that if the Steelers can stop the run on the early downs, and if they do stack the box, and do try to blitz him, I would expect the ball to come out super quick in those situations and try to get the ball in playmakers like Pittman. Man, that guy makes. Did you see the catch that he made where it hit him and it bounced? The ball always seems to find their guys even when it goes up in the air. He had that one where he's coming across the middle and the ball goes up in the air with the defender right on his back, and just the timing of it fell right back in his hands again. And he made a couple of. He obviously had the touchdown catch that was just phenomenal. He's a great wide receiver, and they've got guys. They're top 3, and not even including A.D. Mitchell, obviously, in that. They have guys that can catch the football in all situations there. As you mentioned, Josh Downs is so dangerous on third down out of slot. Who do you put on him, Ramsey?
I think play a lot of zone in this game, Dave. I mean, you're gonna mix up coverages, but I don't know how much man you're gonna go back to. You've been playing man a lot the last 2 weeks. It's not been working. It's kind of been your MO with a team. I think it's a good speed overall. The Colts still have. Downs is tough to cover one-on-one. I think you're playing more zone in this game.
All right.
I should have gone back to that Rams game where they had 3 turnovers. Their only loss of the season. The one turnover was Mitchell dropping the ball, but Jones did throw 2 interceptions in that game. So I wonder if there's something to be gleaned from that particular matchup.
Those look maybe to Jones and they look kind of like floaters throwing into like double coverage type situations where he shouldn't have.
Was there pressure? Was there blitzing? Was there?
I don't remember. I looked at the tail end of actually how egregious those were. I didn't really look at the pressure. I glanced at both those this morning there, and the other one I think he threw right to the defender underneath in one of those games there.
Okay, yeah, the one interception came in the last couple seconds as the Colts were trying to mount a last-second drive. So, lot to like here for the Colts offense. The defense is no slouch either. It's not quite as strong as the offense. There might be a little more opportunity here. Joel talked about the secondary hurting right now. So, what is your approach, your thoughts on this defense?
One other thing that I have in my notes here real quick on the offense as well, too, and we haven't it's not predominant and all, but this is a Daniel Jones that can still run with the football as well too. And his MO during his time with the Giants was taking off with the football and having some really long runs, I think, over his course of his career. So if you are, you got to be mindful in situations that you do play man. If you don't keep that pocket constricted and those escape lanes kind of narrowed for him, he is a guy that will rattle off a 20-yard scramble on you as well too.
Yeah, he's always a threat. As Joel said, not running as much and certainly not design situations, but I'm sure it's there if he needs to scramble. And yeah, he's a good athlete in a straight line. He's got like his top speed's been I think 21 miles per hour. I mean, this guy can take off.
Mhm. All right, defensively, I think one of the key things that you pointed out is they'll run some bare fronts up front to try to shut you down. Your run game and all, they do a good job of putting a lot of guys on the line and showing sim pressures and then backing out of it and not knowing who's dropping. They'll end up just only rushing four on those guys, but which four? Will corner come on? So they're not afraid to send a corner. They're not afraid to drop almost anybody, including some defensive linemen into zones. So they do a good job of disguising. They're more of a four down type front overall, I think, but you will see sometimes I think where everybody they'll have guys up on the line, and all those guys will stand up to kind of cloud the picture for you as well too. I think this team can be run on. I would like to see the Steelers use the bigger bodies and just try to muscle these guys and run on them. I think one of they're obviously not named Franklin at the second level. If you can get their other inside linebacker to try to play a big part, Pratt, in the running game, I really think you got to try to muscle these guys up front with some big bodies and try to just run what's been your bread and butter for the Steelers, whether it be split zone, inside zone, some of these tosses, try to get out on the edge on them as well too. But the Steelers absolutely have got to try to run the football and hopefully have success. And I think they can have some level of success in the running game against this Colts front. And Franklin's a chore to try to get a body on as well. But I think it all starts with the Steelers having success. You can't have the negativity, as we talked about in the game against the Packers there. You get these second and long situations that snowballed into third and long situations here. So we've got to see this offense get at a minimum 3, 4, 5 yards on first down to stay in less predictable type situations. In third downs, though, this Colts defense, I don't think has been great overall. I think overall, now how much of this is played into late game kind of situations? I didn't have a chance to really look at kind of globally there, but when you look at just rankings overall and defensive third down rankings, I believe this Colts defense is ranked 30th overall in third downs at 47.12%. Obviously not great there. When you look at passing yards per game here, they're 29th in the league. Now they've had some leads in some of these games, so how much of this has been garbage time overall, would reflect on that. And in passing yards per play, however, they're right there in the middle of the league at 6.44. So they've had some interceptions. I think they're fifth in the league in interception rate. Sack per pass attempt, they're right in the middle of the league as well too. And first downs per game, which is probably part of the end of game type situations, are 27th. So I don't know how much you can read into that overall. But the points differential is the big thing here. First in the NFL in points differential at 14.5.
It looks like on third down in the first three quarters, the Colts are allowing a 45.1% conversion rate, only slightly better than their season average of 47.1. So they've still not been great. It's not just from the garbage time type situations. When I look at this Colts team, Dave, I start not with a player, but a coach, the new D coordinator, Lou Anarumo. We talked about him with Joel a little bit. He's been a great influence, obviously a big turnaround from some of the old guard. It's a little bit of a Vikings vibe to me. I think Anarumo's doing some things that are similar in Cincinnati with some of the cover two that he likes to run, but some different things. You don't get quite the 5 down front with 5 defensive linemen like you did in Cincinnati. You're getting some of that Vikings flair of being aggressive, not on third down, but on second and medium with some of those bluff cover zero looks and trying to create some chaos there. But one thing that gives me hope is that Pittsburgh has had a lot of success against Lou Anarumo. I mean, they know him well. Whenever they played the Bengals couple weeks ago, the thought was, well, you've had success against the Bengals in the past, but the Steelers rightly pointed out it's a new D coordinator with Al Golden over there. So you're facing a coordinator that really, really well and have had success and put up points on him. So I think Pittsburgh can lean on that a little bit as a starting point, but the Colts are doing things differently than he was with Cincinnati. So it starts with the run game. I think Pittsburgh can run the ball. The Colts' run defense has been good, but I think Pittsburgh is really kind of hitting their stride with the run game. Handling Buckner is going to be the key up front. He is their Cam Hayward. As I mentioned to Joel, he leads the NFL among defensive linemen in total tackles and by a pretty wide margin. If Stewart doesn't play, then that's really got to be more incentive to run the ball well. But I look at the coordinator and say, can Pittsburgh lean on their background going against him? I know it's a two-way street. I know he knows the Steelers as well. But I think Pittsburgh could have some success because they know his background.
Yeah, they do, and I don't think they're a heavy blitz team either, are they?
Let me get the blitz rate. Not
They're
super heavy.
right in the middle of the league, I think.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where I have that. I don't know if I put that in my notes or not. They're pretty average. I mean, they will do some inventive stuff. Kenny Moore's been a really good blitzing corner in the NFL. One of those slot guys like Mike Hilton was, and they still have Mike Hilton. Is he still on roster? He played for them earlier this season. I don't know if he's still around or not. But they'll do some inventive stuff, some boundary type blitzes with Kenny Moore. In coverages, they mix things up. It's a lot of post-snap rotations, some really inventive stuff. They had a great post-snap rotation in the cover two that I saw, I think, against the Chargers. I think it was the game that I saw. So you can really identify that post-snap. But I think Rodgers is somebody that's seen it all and is not going to be as intimidated by that as a younger quarterback would be.
Right, especially when they muddle up these fronts and all like that. I imagine Aaron will have a pretty good idea, hopefully, of who's dropping out and all. And you're right, they'll take a guy from the line and then run him all the way out to a deep cover two type situation as well too. 23 sacks for this defense. To put that into some sort of context, I think the Steelers have 22 sacks on the season. They got a lot of people with a low number of sacks. DeForest Buckner leads them overall with 4 sacks. Kwity Paye, I think, is second on the team, tied with Tyquan Lewis with 3, and then it kind of trickles down from there. But they got some defensive backs with a couple of sacks, and just
4 DBs have at least 1 sack.
Right. So they're not afraid to send pressure off the edge, especially I think in some second and long and third and long situations. So be on the mind for that. They have been beat on some chunk plays on down the field if you can hold the football a little bit longer as well too, specifically on out to the numbers and to the sidelines. So if you can get some of those corner routes and all built into this, maybe some slot fades or something like that. They can be beat in the passing game down the field, but you obviously probably going to have to hold on to football a little bit to make those things happen.
I think
time to develop.
Right. I mean, no team has had more pass attempts against them than the Colts, which is no surprise because A, there's been no bye week, and B, they've led and they're 7-1, so teams are naturally throwing late in games in the second half. But yeah, I think handling some of that Jim Schwartz feel of getting those wide nines, those dual 3 techs, you're not getting a lot of stuff over A gap in those obvious pass situations, but you see that amoeba front too, which is a departure. Didn't see that in Cincinnati, and they're doing some really fun, inventive things there. It's an all hands on deck. They got so many guys with a bunch of sacks. They got 7 different guys who have picked off a pass this year. Bynum is the guy that always has a nose for the football. I think he does it so he can do his celebrations. He's the guy that does those really fun interception turnover celebrations. And so he's always working on those. And he's gotten a lot of picks with Minnesota last year and now coming over to Indianapolis. So I think throwing on them is going to be key in this game. That's where, Joel talked about you can make some hay. I think there's some aggregate numbers that show their pass defense being worse than it actually is. But I think if there is a place to attack, it's the pass game. And, situationally, they've still not been a great defense in some key areas. They're 30th on third down. Like you said, they're 18th in red zone defense.
What are they on? I forgot to pull this up too. What are they on their defense on 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7 or more?
I can pull it up here. I didn't break it down into some of those 3rd and long situations, but I can try here. So you want 3rd and 7 or longer?
Or 3rd and 6 or longer, because Steelers, that seems to be the area. Or no, go 3rd and 7 because the Steelers obviously have not been great in that area.
Okay, yeah, that's traditionally where what's considered and long, 3rd and 7 plus. Give me 1 second. I can try to pull it up here if I have all my inputs done correctly. Probably not great because they're 30th overall on 3rd down. 27.3%. I should see where that ranks league-wide because I don't know where that ranks relative to the rest of the NFL. Pittsburgh, I think, is much worse than that right now. Pittsburgh is 31.3%. The Colts 26.1%, it looks like. And that is around top 10 in the NFL, roughly.
Wow. Okay. So don't get third and long against these guys, right? And
Yeah.
because obviously that's where the Steelers have struggled because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a propensity, at least so far, to throw towards the chains in a lot of situations.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong number. It's still same outcome. Pittsburgh 40% third and long. Colts 27.3%. That's still about top 10 though. Defense. I was looking at offensive category.
All right.
So yeah, I think the weakness is trying to throw. I think if Pittsburgh's going to win this game, it's probably have to be a shootout. I don't think you win this game 17-10. I think you win this game, 38-35, something like that.
Yeah, I was going to pull out the top-notch analysis statement here and say, in order for the Steelers to win this game, they're going to have to outscore the Colts.
It's funny to say, but it's true because I don't know if you're going to get into a slugfest, or I think you're going to have to win this one a lot more wide open.
I agree.
All right, Dave, any other final thoughts here on this Colts team? It's a good team, obviously.
It is a really good team, man. Once again, I think you're going to have to, if the Steelers go another game without, takeaway or sack, or at least a combination of multiple of those things, it feels like it's a very uphill battle because this is a well-coached team. They got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Most of their talent seems to be on the offensive side of football, though. So you better be able to move the football. Look, keep the football out of their hands. Can you win the time of possession? And not just win it. Can you win it kind of a little lopsided? Can you run? Can you keep the Colts only running 56, 57 plays in this? I think that's going to go a long way in helping determine the outcome of this game. If the Steelers offense can just stay on the field a lot more than the Colts and limit the amount of overall possessions that they have.
Be nice. A takeaway would also be big in doing that too. Shorten the field, steal a possession. I think you have to do that. You can't win. You're not going to beat the Colts not getting a takeaway.
No.
It's just not going to happen. I mean,
No.
they turned the ball over 3 times in their loss to the Rams. They've only turned the ball over once in every other game, all other 7 games this season. So you got to probably get at least 2 takeaways on these guys.
And if you do get those, you better convert them into 7 and not 3, right?
For sure. You got to get points. You got to capitalize on those moments.
All right.
All right, Dave, before we make our picks for this game, make our picks for the rest of week number 9, let's hear from our friends over at MyBookie.
Yeah, absolutely. MyBookie.ag back with us on Fridays as we use their lines to go through all the games and make our weekly picks here. And Alex and I start off the week 1-0 as we both had the Baltimore Ravens laying 7.5 to the Miami Dolphins on Thursday night. They obviously easily covered that number. So here we are. We sit 1-0 each. Look, 14 teams, at least as of a couple of weeks ago, had already hung 40 or more points on the board this year, and the overs are printing right and left in the NFL. MyBookie is where my boys are cashing in on every one of those. Game lines, player props, same game parlays, whatever you're riding, MyBookie has it. New players now can use our promo code. That's promo code terrible at mybookie.ag to get started with the bet back bonus that they have. Your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If it misses, the bet back token keeps you in the game so you can reload and fire another shot. Whether you're building your bankroll or looking to hit the lotto with money bag portion of the site that they have, you can bet anything, anytime with MyBookie. And obviously they've got lines to everything imaginable. You got the college football is in high gear right now. A lot of good games to bet on this week. The World Series is starting to wind down. NHL hockey is in full swing. I think you got college basketball about to start up as well too. So anything that you need, I've used MyBookie for several years now. It's a very easy interface to use. And once again, make sure to take advantage of their bet back token version there by using the promo code terrible at sign up. That's terrible at mybookie.ag. And we appreciate them once again being a sponsor of our Friday episode of the Terrible Podcast.
Dave, before we make our picks, some Steelers news coming in, though it's a bit more procedural. Pittsburgh has placed strong safety Deshaun Elliott and nose tackle Daniel Quale on injured reserves. They will be out at least the next 4 games. Quale reportedly tore his ACL. He's confirmed he's done for the season. Elliott, maybe a chance to come back later in the year. I know Tomlin called him week to week. Some of the media reporting still pessimistic about him getting back in 2025, but officially those 2 players going on IR, so Pittsburgh has 2 roster spots open.
Yeah, and we knew this was coming. We just didn't know when. So now we'll sit and wait to see how they go about filling those extra roster spots there.
Really want to see the safety rotation this week. You got Duggar on the fly, you have Thornhill, you have Chuck Clark, Jabril Peppers, assuming the quad is okay and not going to prevent him from playing in this game. So don't know exactly how that rotation is going to go. Could get a little messy, but I'll be curious charting that about who gets used in what situation. Thornhill's been more the pass guy. Duggar, Clark, Peppers more rundown personnel. Someone's got to play on pass downs opposite Thornhill. We shall see how it all shakes out.
All right, let's get to the rest of the lines and then pick the Steelers game here. We'll start off with the Green Bay Packers hosting the Carolina Panthers at Lambeau Field. The Packers, not surprisingly, huge favorites. 13 points at home favored over the Panthers this week.
I'm sorry, who was it? Panthers and who?
Packers.
Give me the Panthers to cover.
All right, I'll take the Packers late at 13. They looked pretty well oiled, getting guys back healthy and all. I like them to cover that big line. How about the Detroit Lions hosting the Minnesota Vikings? The Lions are 8.5-point home favorites.
Yeah, McCarthy coming back at quarterback. Give me the Lions.
I'll take the Lions. They should have no problem with young McCarthy in this one as well. So I'm with you. Take the Lions there. The Tennessee Titans hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Another big line. The Chargers on the road laying 9.5 against the Titans.
Thought it might be double digits, to be honest with you. Give me the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers in that big line as well, too. All right. The Cincinnati Bengals are at home. It sounds like Joe Flacco, banged up Joe Flacco is going to play in this one against the Bears. The Bears, 2.5-point road favorites against the Bengals in this one. The Bengals really need this one to stay alive, stay pace, or keep pace.
So Flacco, I know he was limited. He's definitely going to play, or is there an official word on him, or is it just kind of reporting?
I think everybody's leaning towards him playing. I think he did a little bit more than people expected him to do, but they don't stand a prayer if he doesn't play. So
Sure.
I think he plays, but the Bears 2.5-point road favorites right now.
Give me the Bengals.
I'll take the Bears. Upset the Bengals at home by a field goal. So I'll lay the 2.5 points there. How about the Houston Texans at home hosting the Denver Broncos? The Texans coming off of a nice performance this past week. They are 1.5-point home favorites to the Broncos.
Yeah, this will be a really fun game. Surtain is out for the Broncos. What a loss, even though maybe the Texans don't have that elite guy at receiver. I'll go with the Broncos. They bow up. They figure it out.
Yeah, they got a good pass rush, man. They do a lot of good things even without Surtain on defense there. They get some explosive plays out of some players like rookie R.J. Harvey, who I like coming into the draft and all. I'll take the Broncos to win this outright. So that means give me that 1.5 as well too. The New England Patriots really playing good football right now. Winners of 5 straight, I think, right now, are hosting the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots are 5.5-point home favorites against the Falcons.
Yeah, give me the Pats, Dave.
I'm with you. Just a lot of uncertainty with who the Falcons actually are right now. The Patriots playing good ball late at 5.5. The New York Football Giants are hosting the San Francisco 49ers. This is a tough one here. The 49ers on the road laying 2.5 points against the G-Men.
Yeah, this one is tough, but no, Scatterboo is going to be a real big blow. Give me the Niners.
I'll take the Niners on the road, just out-coach them here as well. I'll lay that 2.5. How about the Raiders at home against the Jaguars? Jags, 2.5-point road favorites against the Raiders.
Yeah, give me the Jags. I know Travis Hunter just went to IR, but they're still overcome. The Raiders are a mess, and will they be selling Jacoby Myers? I'm with you. The more I thought about it, like Myers has to be traded here by the deadline by Tuesday, right? I mean, I don't know
It
how he
feels like
doesn't,
it.
how he isn't, but to who and is Pittsburgh involved in that? Stay tuned. If the Raiders do win this game, they could maybe convince themselves, well, we're 3-5, we still have a chance. Let's not sell. But if they lose, they have to just sell off whatever they can sell off.
Yeah, I'm I just think the Jaguars are the better team overall. I think the Raiders, I mean, that's a tough division they're in. Even if they win this game to improve the record slightly, they're not going to win that division. Give me the Jaguars later 2.5 on the road. How about the Rams hosting the Saints? I think the Tyler Shuck is going to start for the Saints, I believe, and for the rest of the season, the Rams think don't they get Puka back this week? The Rams laying 14 points at home against the Saints.
Oh, big line there. Yeah, that's tough. Just did the Saints cover? Yeah, I say the Saints cover.
I'll say the Rams cover. I'll take all these big lines this week. I'll lay the 14. How about in what should be the game of the week? The Buffalo Bills hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs on the road laying 2 points.
Bills defense has really struggled. They're lacking some of the playmakers offensively in the pass game. That's why they're looking for a receiver at the deadline. The Chiefs are really ascending. Give me Casey.
I'll take KC. They got so much speed now and their weapons, and I don't know if they're going to have Pacheco for this one or not. But Kareem Hunt's been playing good. Patrick Mahomes playing well. Kelsey coming alive. Give me the Chiefs. I'll lay the 2 on the road. How about the Commanders at home hosting the Seahawks? Are playing really good ball. Seahawks laying 3 on the road.
Wasn't it you that said Seattle, the road team? Go
Mm.
with them. I'm going to listen to your advice this time. Take Seattle.
I'll take my own advice here. I'll take Seattle lay the 3 on the road. How about the Dallas Cowboys? I believe this is the Monday night game hosting the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys coming off of a bad loss to, who was that? Denver, I think. Cowboys laying 2.5 at home against the Cardinals.
Kyler Murray coming back, but give me the Cowboys.
I'll take the Cowboys lay those 2.5 points. That feels almost like a gimme there. That circles us all the way back to the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, this line has been stable most of the week. Colts laying 3 on the road against the Steelers. The over-under on this one is 50.5. With this high over-under line here. What say you on this? Which way does this go?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Colts. I'm not going to have too much of a tease to this one. The offense is just firing on all cylinders. Pittsburgh struggling on some basic communication stuff, motion stuff, and the Colts are going to test them every which way. I mean, I think Pittsburgh has often done well with their backs against the wall, but they've had those 3-game losing streaks in each of the last 7 seasons. Certainly on track to have that become an 8th straight season. The run defense, they can make some plays. It has been better. Was good against Green Bay, but the Colts passing game just is on firing on all cylinders right now, and Steichen's a really good coach. I think we'll have the upper hand in this one. And defensively, I think Pittsburgh can certainly score some points. I think the Colts, though, that rush, that defensive line could do some inventive things. Got the Colts winning this one in a pretty high-scoring game. I got the Colts winning this game 34-24.
All right.
Have you picked against the Steelers this year? We have not picked against them once, right? Or did you?
I don't remember.
I don't think you did. I want to know if this will be the first time.
It is. I don't think this comes down to my brilliant analysis. I just don't think the Steelers can outscore the Colts here. I think the Steelers should be able to move the ball at times and get some points, but maybe it's recency bias as well too. Man, the tape against the Packers just did not look good. They looked slow and old on defense. You wonder how they're going to be able to clean up some of that stuff, especially the way the Colts use a lot of this motion, the way they're able to run out some of these bunches, the weapons that they have. I just worry about Jones getting the ball out quickly, which is the MO against his defense as well too. I worry about the Steelers being able to get enough short field takeaways, if any takeaways at all. Just the more you watch the Colts, every game you turn on, it looks like, man, that it really looks good on offense. Now, defense, once again, I think the Steelers can move the ball on them. I just don't think the Steelers can score enough points and keep pace with them. I think the Steelers make this close at the end, though. I think the line comes into play. I think the Steelers end up covering this 3 points in here, but in the end, I have the Colts winning this 30-28. So 48 would be just under. And what'd you have the final score at?
34-24, so 58 total points.
Yeah, so you have this going over, and I have it going under here.
What was your prediction?
30-28.
Wouldn't that be 58 points?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 58. Sorry,
Yeah, so
I
you
had
got
it
the
going
over.
over. Sorry.
So you think this one, like, it's like 31-21, then Pittsburgh scores late and kind of makes the score seem a little bit closer than the game actually was?
Yeah. I think
Okay.
at some point they're probably. I think we see if Mike Tomlin passes the go for two test at some point early instead of late. One of
When you're
those.
down like 14 and then you
Yeah,
score, and like
yeah.
you make it an 8-point game or a
Yeah.
6-point game. Yeah.
I worry about this defense more than anything else.
Fair enough. All right, Dave, I know we're running pretty long. Let's get to maybe a couple reader emails and close out today's show.
All right, it's going to be a lot of the same old here, I think, in the email machine, and we are almost at 2 minutes here. Hold on a minute. Let me get things sorted real quick. And we'll just do a couple of them here. Jeff Kinney writes in, "Hi, David Knox. Love the show. During combine and pro day season, there's always a ton of focus of prospects measurables leading up to the draft. For the rest of the player's career, we virtually never see data in this area. The exception would be a report on a miles per hour a back or receiver might hit on an explosive play as our roster of seasoned citizens has been getting exposed in recent weeks. I've been wondering if teams ever put their current players up against a stopwatch, or perhaps when a free agent comes in for a mid-season visit. It seems like the data would be invaluable when building a roster and plugging holes." So basically he's saying, do they ever put the stopwatches on these guys, maybe when they get these free agents and all in for tryouts and all?
Well, I don't know about the tryouts, maybe, but whenever you're in practice, all these guys wear devices to calculate a ton of metrics, including your speed, your steps, your reps. I mean, there's a ton of information that the teams get. So I don't know how that goes. Like when you go trade for Jalen Ramsey, there's no workout, there's no tryout. When there's a Darius Slay, there's no tryout. He may visit, but he's not getting on the field. He'd be foolish to do that. Now, when you work people out during the week, I don't know what the process is in terms of their equipment whenever they are practicing. I don't think they're really in pads or anything like that. They're just, I think, working out in quote unquote civilian gear, t-shirts and shorts. But when you're in practice, for those who are on the team, you can monitor all those things. And that's been kind of the thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, but that information is certainly tracked and charted and becomes really valuable for, where a player is at and is he tired and fatiguing and managing reps and all that kind of stuff for a veteran defense. So once they're here, yeah, certainly that information is all available.
Right. All right. This one from LM writes, and I guess it's about Spencer Anderson. I guess we really may see now, but are you more encouraged about Spencer Anderson taking over for Seumalo next year? Between his play as a offensive lineman and their faith in him, seems like he could slide in as a starter next year. He may have lost the job last year, but was to another guy they also like. He says, "I think you still draft at least 2 offensive linemen in the 2026 draft, but I'd love if Anderson could start rather than rely on a new guy." Look, I think Anderson, for what he's been asked to do, and obviously he hasn't been asked to play a lot at left guard. We're probably going to get a good long look at him on Sunday against the Colts, though, right? So it might be a better question to ask after this Colts game. We know he can handle the 6 offensive lineman role and do a pretty good job on that. And however long, if Seumalo does end up missing a couple of games, it will be a good audition for him overall. So I really think it is kind of an incomplete. He has been in past games like last year when James Daniels went down. Obviously, he's a versatile guy. We know that. He can play both guard spots, but can he play a long stretch of games as a starter at either one of those spots and give you a lot of confidence? I don't know if we're there yet. though. So, look, this Colts game will be a good measuring stick as far as maybe potential goes there. But even so, I think we've seen him have good games followed by bad games as a starter on the other side there. So I kind of view Spencer Anderson of as far as knowing about him now. I think he is a very good 6 offensive lineman. I think he is a admirable spot gap fill for one of the 2 guard spots. But are we there yet of saying this guy can be the guy that takes over per se for Seumalo as a starter next year? I don't know if we're there yet.
We're not. That story's still being written, as you said. Let's let the season play out. Let's let the Colts game play out. I did a nice job in relief of Seumalo against Green Bay, but let's watch him go through this game. We'll see a lot of Buckner in this one. And Grover Stewart is practicing today, so a good sign for him playing on Sunday. So these decisions do not have to be made now. We let the season play out. And yeah, he's been a really good 6 offensive lineman, but I always have the quote in my head whenever I talk about kind of differing roles. Mitch Hedberg, the late great comedian Mitch
Right.
Hedberg, he had the joke of you go to a cook and say, "You're a great cook, but can you farm?" Like they're 2 different things. 6 offensive linemen starting left guard. I mean, obviously it's more similar than chef and farmer, but the point being, 6 offensive linemen does not always become a great starter, at every down at left guard. So we'll see. It'll be a great test this week, assuming Seumalo sits out, and we'll see where things end by the end of the season.
All right, Christopher King's in our email machine with a trade offer. He says, I was watching the Bears-Ravens game, and I had a thought about a possible trade. Keanu Benton for DJ Moore. He says the Bears had a lot of injuries along the defensive line, and DJ Moore looked to be not being featured as much in the Bears offense. Player-for-player moves are rare in season and not necessarily advocating for it, but is it possible? I hate to be the guy that sits here and says everything's impossible because I've been stunned in the past, but to me, it doesn't sound very possible. Look, Keanu Benton, I know he's got the pedigree and all like that, but Keanu Benton, does he really strengthen anybody's defensive line at this point from what we've seen so far? And for a one-for-one trade for a Benton for DJ Moore, even if DJ Moore's usage maybe hasn't been what a lot of people anticipated, it would sure seem like that's just not a plausible trade.
Yeah, I don't know what the Bears' needs are. Moore to me has kind of been a little bit more of a space player. I don't want to call him a gadget guy, but something cut from that cloth. I don't think that really fits in this offense well. I'm not looking to trade for a receiver, and then you lose a Quale. So if you trade Benton, then who's your nose tackle? I think Benton has shown flashes. I get kind of brainstorming and just having different ideas, but I'll pass.
I will as well too. I do hope Benton starts playing better, and it better start this week against that interior defensive line of what is his name? Bonanelli.
Tanner Bortolini. Yeah, I mean,
well.
And then, of course, you got Quentin Nelson at left guard. Cam Hayward and Nelson have had some great matches together. That's going to be a great matchup. And they've also replaced Will Fries, who I think it's gone. Clay's over there at right guard. So, Fries was a big loss for them. He was really good. He got paid up in Minnesota. And then tackles, too. We don't talk about the tackles in Raymond and I was at Braden Smith over there, and they're really solid, too.
They've used Goncalves on the move, too. Like I said, look for at least one maybe pin and pull with him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very versatile run scheme.
What I lied. One last one from Clayton Kohut. Saw a post about Chris Boswell's career history, specifically where he ranks among all-time scorers who have only played for one team. And he says he has a quick question. Can Boswell be classified as having been with the Steelers his entire career?
Houston.
Even if he had brief stints with the Giants and Texans, he's only ever played regular season with us, but wasn't sure if him signing a contract with other teams prior to us excludes him from being considered a career Steeler, even if during those stints he was only on the practice squad of those other teams. It's a great question.
It is. Love this kind of question. I don't know how it's seen in the eyes of the NFL. If you look at just, for example, Pro Football Reference, it'll just show his time with the Steelers because he never appeared in a regular season game with those other clubs. I would not call Boswell a one helmet guy, though. I think a one helmet guy is a true and blue. He never played for any other team. I'm trying to think, are there any examples historically of somebody who was kind of in that situation that was on a team very early in their career and then went, somewhere else for 99% of their history? I don't know. I'm sure there's examples out there. I'm trying to think of a good one, but I would not technically call Chris Boswell a one helmet guy.
Because of him being on the now was he was he a practice squad guy only?
He was no, I don't think he was on practice squad. He was just off-season roster training camp type stuff. And that's whenever he was on. At least in Houston, I'm pretty sure he was just a summer off-season 90-man guy.
Yeah, I don't know how they classify that then.
What is an example? Who would be an example of somebody? I'm trying to think like Unitas or somebody like that, but he ended up going to the Chargers, so it's not really the same situation. I don't know. I mean, do you call Boswell a one helmet guy? I don't know how the definitions work.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, it would be interesting to know what the definition is. Obviously, he'll be termed as playing his entire NFL career, I think, for the Steelers, right?
I mean, yes,
but technically, he's not a one helmet guy because he has signed with other teams before.
Right. So, good question. I don't know how the NFL. Just the question is, how does the NFL view that? I mean, I think
Right.
they will generally view him as a one helmet guy. If you look at his bio, not his bio, but like his stats, there's never any reference to those other teams because he never actually appeared in a regular season game. But yeah, I don't. That's a really good question. I don't know how that
Yeah.
would be classified. I'm curious on what other examples. And again, I have not been able to find any in our couple minutes talking about it. But good question.
All right, good question. Here's the thing: we hope that Boswell does nothing but kick extra points this week. For
And a lot of them, not
Yeah,
just one.
and a lot of them. All right, Alex, got through some questions there. About 2 hours on the show now. We appreciate Joel Erickson for visiting with us today to talk about the Colts. You and I, win, lose, or draw, we'll be back on Monday. Hopefully, not singing. Agony on me type situation there. The Steelers really could use what we'll be back in. The Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. Steelers are going back to the playoffs if they somehow manage to knock off the Colts. And obviously, if they lose, it'll continue to be doom and gloom and agony and fire everybody, I'm sure. But whatever happens, we'll talk about it on Monday. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, follow the directions, get a username and password, hit the login button and use that username and password to take advantage of the ad-free version of the site. So until Monday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.